met her in the fall. He took her to a movie, and when they done it all, he took her.
Hello and welcome to the Fabulous Picture Show. I'm Amanda Palmer, and this week we have an epic documentary from filmmaker Dwayne Bauman. It's about the life of Benazir Bhutto, the first woman ever elected to lead a Muslim state. From Pakistan's preeminent political dynasty, hers was a life of pure drama.
I don't think that the regime can touch me, because I'm sure people will just burn down the airport.
And the director makes a meal of his critics.
I eat criticism for breakfast and I appreciate it.
Also on the show, an odd little gem that'll get your heart racing. But first, for the past year or so, we've been following an aspiring filmmaker who wants to make his mark with a zombie love story. But can he succeed with a storyline that's less boy meets girl and more about boy eats girl?
If it looks cheap, that's because it is. Low-budget horror has long been a way for new directors to realise their visions in tomato ketchup. The brains behind this, Peter Jackson, went on to direct the Lord of the Rings trilogy. While Night of the Living Dead director George Romero became a horror legend.
No! He's gone now, Christy! We've got to save ourselves!
I'm not sure she has the look. I think she...
First-time director Will and producer John are hoping to repeat the trick. But how?
It starts with an idea, and it's... So, yeah, Christ. How does it work?
Leave my child alone!
Before anything, I wanted to make a film, and then you come up with an idea that you think works, and then you develop that idea until you then want to tell that idea to other people.
And so begins their journey into the dark woods of filmmaking. Their idea, a 10-minute zombie love story called Dead Hungry, where the undead are the heroes and the clean-cut teens the baddies.
I had to be that.
Will and John have won $10,000 from the UK Film Council.
Don't use it anymore. We need it.
Not nearly enough to pay everyone their full rate.
You won't be able to pay people. If it's low budget, you will have to spend your money on feeding people, driving them around, keeping them alive.
So why are you doing it?
Because Will's my friend, and I love him.
Once you start surrounding yourself with really good people that are all good in their jobs, then it slowly starts to make itself.
That's the theory, at least.
You know, the agreement was that we'd get these generators here, and if the generators don't come, then we start losing money. Okay, so what's the bottom line? When they're going to get here, then? 10:30, 11.
The generator is crucial. Most of their filming is at night.
Yeah, we're 10:30, 11. That's when it's getting here.
The top-notch kit they've blagged at bargain rates lies idle, and the team of 50 can't even rehearse.
You end up looking like a bunch of idiots, and that really is a problem when you've got top people.
As the precious night slips by with no power, Will gets analytical.
Zombies are always great. They look great, and you can do them cheap.
Yeah, I'm the main guy. I lose my eye, and I lose my arm, and I live to fight another day.
How do you get into the mind of a zombie? I think you have to just break it down to motor functions. What are you doing next? Look! The generators are here! Hallelujah!
At last, rehearsals can begin.
Action! That's great. It's freaky as hell. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to give some people some groans.
What about this one? What about this one?
You need to look more dead as well. Yeah. That's good. That's a good groan.
That's good. It's 1:10. We're getting ready to do our first take.
One, take one.
After 7 hours on set,
Action!
shooting finally begins.
I just scraped the side of me. Knocked me a bit. That's all.
Zombie pack here, please.
While Will grapples with his first bit of directing...
Okay, maybe a little bit less smoke. Stop the smoke.
I can't.
Okay. Right, quiet everyone, please.
Speed.
Action!
Producer John worries about their progress.
We've already cut a lot of the scripts down. We've got to keep the balance between telling the story and doing it in time.
With dawn breaking,
We've not got time to shoot.
Will and John are forced to add another expensive night to their shoot.
Everyone's coming back tomorrow.
Thank you very much.
And sorry.
When the camera comes over, I want someone pulling out that intestine out. So that's your starting position.
The next night, director Will hits his stride.
So die a little bit quicker if that's all right. Cut. Loved it.
An ambitious CGI shot will be the gory climax of the film.
Jed and Edna, that's your mark.
For Will, it's the culmination of his horrific vision.
You've got something in your head, draw it on a page, and then you're here looking at it. It's a little weird having some your dark thoughts about how people die played out in front of your very eyes.
That's it, everyone.
That's a wrap. Thank you. Thank you.
John, good luck.
Now begins the long process of editing and special effects, and there's a problem from the first cut.
Your heart sinks. You're like, because everyone else has done their job. And the only bit that doesn't work is the bit that you're in charge of, which is telling the story. It right up.
To fix it, they need another night shoot. Time to turn on the charm.
I'm calling you because we need to try and organise a pick-up shots.
Yeah, we got the first cut together and it looks really good.
Yeah, I know, not a reshoot.
But we need to do some pickups.
The shoot takes place in John's business partner's mother's garden.
I'm trying to make Orlando's back garden look like a pine forest.
We are bloodying up our severed head.
I wouldn't worry about it.
Head good to go.
It's Sussy Green, and you're the only thing blocking it.
The pickups are partly the effect of the late generator, but also something neither Will nor John had foreseen.
The main overriding problem is that zombies are slow, so we just got to speed it up. So Will hacked out a couple of scenes.
A scene. One scene. Scene.
Yeah, there we go. That's good.
It might be a one-shot deal because if the prosthetic breaks as he sort of pulls at it, there's not much we can do really to repair it.
And then back in here.
Yeah, that's good. Cool. Well done.
That's it. Thanks for coming back, everyone.
With 2 weeks to deliver to the UK Film Council, it's off to Will's mate's living room for the special effects.
We need to get rid of the crew in this particular case who are holding him back with a piece of rope and stopping him falling flat on his face. We've added some background smoke here. We have no crew members.
4 weeks later, and they're still colour correcting the film.
We're at the end of a long nightmare where we've had lots of technical
in an hour's time.
problems. Although it is just people sat down looking at a screen and me on the phone, this is actually, just as stressful as running around without a generator.
So how would Will describe the process now?
How? Sheer bloody mindedness and a little bit of genius.
And this is the result. An award-winning low-budget horror that blew away the UK Film Council and looks like $1 million. It's earned Will and John funding for their first feature. Will is to write and John will direct.
He took her to a movie.
Described as Bonnie and Clyde on drums, Sound of Noise is a hilariously surreal musical from Sweden. In true crime caper style, outlaws Sanna and Magnus mastermind an absurd series of music gigs. With a gang of drummers at their command. They turn the city into one giant percussion fest. And of course, it wouldn't be complete without a tone-deaf copper, aptly named Amadeus, hot on their heels. These mad, anarchic situations are the visions of filmmakers Ulla Simonsen and Johannes Schane Nilsson.
We knew that music could really communicate with people all around the world, and of course that was inspiring. But we wanted to push this even further and bring it to another level.
So began a year of musical mayhem.
In that quest for the perfect sounds, we also, of course, had a lot of setbacks. Not all sounds will bring you music. It's the truth.
Lucky for Nilsson and Simonsen, their tribute to underground rock managed to hit all the right notes.
In part 2, we're screening an epic documentary, Bhutto, The Life of Benazir Bhutto. I have the filmmaker here. This is Dwayne Bauman. The first film, really, to cover an extraordinary life.
Yeah, I was very fortunate to be able to bring, I think, to life some firsts, having Benazir narrate this film in tapes that had never been heard before anywhere. Really it brings an effect to the film that makes you feel like she is telling her story from start to finish.
And when did you start this film?
We started it literally 2-3 days after she was assassinated, and 3 months later I was sitting in what had been Benazir's living room with her heartbroken children and her devastated husband, getting their recollections of a woman's life and their life now without her.
Goodness me, I mean, it was the 27th of December 2007, so this has been your life ever since. Come back in part 2.
He met her in the fall.
Welcome to the Fabulous Picture Show and a screening of Bhutto. Could I please introduce the filmmaker here? This is Dwayne Bauman.
Thank you. Thank you.
And a first-time filmmaker at that.
Yeah, first, last, most likely.
A fascinating subject, a lady that many of us became very familiar with her, but really didn't understand what was going on in the background. Tell us about how you got involved in this story.
My day job is in America as an American political consultant, and I had been approached by the gentleman who became my producer, Mark Siegel, about being involved in her re-election. Before we had the opportunity to work with her, she was killed, and I realized that I knew some of the important people involved to be able to make the film, and I knew definitely that given Pakistan's proximity as the epicenter of the war on terror, that it was a story that the West needed to know and that the rest of us needed to know.
My father had a vision of Pakistan as a democratic and progressive nation. My family is committed to his vision of Pakistan. We don't fear anything.
Often described as the Kennedys of Pakistan, the Bhutto's political legacy started with Zulfikar Bhutto.
To form Pakistan People's Party, he had a very simple, very popular slogan: food, clothes, and shelter.
After he was executed on military orders.
They wouldn't even open the cell doors for me to kiss him goodbye.
His 35-year-old daughter Benazir was elected the first female prime minister of a Muslim country.
I think she determined early on that she would never have a personal life, that she would be a political leader, but she functionally wouldn't be a woman. But she came to realize that for her to function in a man's political environment in Pakistan, it was very important for her to be married.
We had 500,000 people, huge affair, much beyond my imagination.
Nicknamed Mr. 10%, her husband Asif Sadari spent 8 years in prison on corruption charges, though the filmmaker dismisses these as political smears.
No business transaction was done in Pakistan without his involvement.
Meanwhile, Benazir continued to fight against the military and became a voice for democracy.
People are not allowed to travel. People are not allowed to voice their own opinions. What I am sitting and doing right now in this drawing room is a crime under martial law regulation.
Her 2 terms as Prime Minister involved exile, the murders of her 2 brothers, and ultimately her own assassination in 2007, while campaigning for another term. This is where the film ends, but the Bhutto family story continues. Pakistan is now run by President Zardari, and their children are carrying on the family legacy.
I fear for my country. I fear that if free and fair elections are not held, it may disintegrate.
Pakistan saw her often as a mouthpiece of the West, that she was almost too westernized, that she was educated in Harvard, that she was educated in Oxford, an articulate woman who defied every stereotype they had, but that was perhaps one of the great sort of difficulties in her own country.
This is absolutely why this story is so necessary, because the reasons why she was accepted in the West, not a tool of, not used by, she's a very smart woman. She understood people who manipulated her for their own purposes, and she defied that.
She would say what she thought,
And people would come out of meetings with her saying, my God, I can't believe that she said that. But it served her well because people began to trust her.
She represented to the women of Pakistan, to the young girls of Pakistan, a very honest and a very real sense of hope and opportunity that they could actually achieve something similar in their lives.
One thing that Benazir was very proud of was her women's police stations. It sounds like nothing, but for a woman in Pakistan, it can spell a dreadful fate to be in an all-male police station.
You're about to be involved in the strategy and political strategy to bring her back to power. How are you about to advise her?
It never even came close to that point. It was in its nascent stage. The campaign ultimately led nowhere because she was assassinated, and that changed the world as I knew it and as the world knew it.
The sniper moves in to within a few feet of Bhutto, who is greeting her supporters. He fires 3 shots. The last bang is that of the suicide bomber, blowing himself up.
Many people say this is hugely reductive as a film, that this is dishonest, that this is bias. Now, for somebody as a political tactician, how do you answer to the critics that this is certainly it's a fairly glowing account of somebody's life?
Look, as an American political consultant, I eat criticism for breakfast, and I appreciate it. Believe me, if I had come in on the first day and said, I want to go talk to General Musharraf, and I want to talk to Fatima Bhutto, and I want to talk to John Burns, and I want to talk about the corruption, it never would have happened. I tried to be even-handed. I set down a camera, and I let them talk.
We were waiting for my father to come home, and we heard the firing. Benazir bears the moral responsibility of her brother's murder. Absolutely.
I must congratulate you, sir, for making the movie.
Thank you.
Actually allowed me to get much closer to Benazir that we did not know before.
We are known, I believe, in this film now to have had and used and cleared more pieces of archival footage than in any other documentary in history. Over 1,000 pieces at a cost of $250,000 plus. And the beauty of that is some of the least expensive pieces of archival footage came for the first time from under lock and key of dictators.
Mr. Bhutto की हुकूमत खत्म हो चुकी है. सारे मुल्क में मार्शल लॉ नाफिज कर दिया गया है. कौमी और सूबाई असेंबलियां तोड़ दी गई हैं. सूबाई गवर्नर और वजीर हटा दिए गए.
No doubt it's a fascinating profile of a woman. She is not just a formidable figure in her political sense, but just personally.
I feel strong, I feel more determined, and I feel that when I have this strength with me, then I can move any mountain.
Utter, absolute persistence. She had this, and she had it in spades, and it applied not just to her political life, but to her personal life as well, where she refused to give up on the opportunity to have a life with her family.
When it came to 7 o'clock, that was like family dinner time. So no matter what my mom was doing, you know, it'd be like,
sorry,
I'm sorry, it's 7 o'clock.
family time.
It's dinner time with my kids.
President Zardari, Asif especially, comes across as he is, a man who loves his children and who very much fell in love with his wife after an arranged marriage, very uncharacteristically for a Muslim man in a power role that, you know, held deference for his wife. And it was a true relationship in that way.
I remember her saying to me, my mother picked him, but I fell in love with him as though I had met him across a crowded room.
You were cautiously optimistic. You referred to the civilian president. What's your take on the position today?
Should he serve out his 5-year term, he will be the first civilian elected president in the history of this country to do so. The day after the 5-year presidential term of one civilian president happens, that second day will be one of the most influential days in the history of Pakistan, and the country will actually have training wheels to be able to solve some of its problems.
Democracy has united the nation against terrorists. This is a great example of democracies at work.
You interviewed Benazir's son, who was only 19 at the time when his mother was assassinated. Did you talk about where the future lies for him? He spent most of his life outside of Pakistan. Does he have that same sense of, was he chosen, appointed by his mother in a sense where it was her decision, or does he also have that sense of duty to Pakistan?
The two questions kind of go together. It was very obvious he was elected by the board, the PPP ruling board, as co-chairman along with his father. And I think that, again, there is no question with this family that the very first instinct is towards service.
I stand committed to the stability of the Federation. My mother always said, democracy is the best revenge.
But it's certainly not over, this story.
No. Yeah, you're right. It's not, and it's an ongoing story of the Bhutto family, and you see it at the end. These children will carry on. Pakistan will be in the news every day, hopefully soon, for something other than the number of suicide bombs, and as being a launching point for terrorism, and I believe that it will be.
Everybody, let's thank Dwayne Bauman, please, for bringing Bhutto.
Thank you.
Thanks again.
Thank you, Amanda.
I don't think that the regime can touch me, because I'm sure people will just burn down the airport.
Well, that's it for this Fabulous Picture Show. Thank you for bringing your incredibly powerful film.
Thank you for having me.
I forgot to ask one of the questions, and that is the Bhutto children. Did they watch the film? And I assume they did, and what was their reaction?
Yeah, they did. They saw it at Sundance, and they were moved by it, and they're hopeful for the future. But they cried and asked if they could see it again.
Because they cried so much?
Because they cried so much. They're pleased about the legacy living on now in film.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate Bhutto and why?
I would rate Bhutto 8 out of 10.
I'd give Bhutto a 7 out of 10. Very entertaining, well edited, but quite hard work.
I learned a lot about the history of Pakistan and kind of their fight for democracy.
Very engaging film, a very thought-provoking film.
Benazir Bhutto was a really amazing leader. She was great, and unfortunately she was taken away from us way too soon.
I don't think it's pretending to be incredibly balanced, but it makes you want to go out and learn more.
The message behind this film is that there is hope for Pakistan in democracy.